everyone, my name is Iman. I'm new to YouTube. Actually, that's my first YouTube video. For some context, I won't just do movie reviews. I will probably also do some travel and food videos. So if you're into that type of content as well, please follow me. So for some context, I'm a huge movie lover. When I say that is because, yeah, ever since I was a kid, I've been watching movies and shows and really dissecting them and not just watching, you know, I would replay a scene, zoom in, you know, it's really like what I love to do during my free time. I actually used to work in post-production. So I actually kind of know what's going on when it comes to visual effects. So today we will be reviewing Wicked. So I actually saw the movie twice. I went once and then a friend of mine asked me to go with her, and I thought, okay, if I'm doing the review for you guys, might as well go see it for a second time to really have a clear, you know, opinion on the topic. Also, it's important to know that I'm not American. So obviously I'm not American, and I'm also not a theater kid. So yeah, Broadway and all that. I actually just saw once a show in London, but that's about it. So I didn't have that attachment to the storyline. Obviously, there are some songs that I heard already, but I didn't know the songs by heart. I didn't have this whole like, oh my God, did they keep the storyline? I actually didn't know the storyline to begin with. I heard about, I did hear about Oz like very broadly, but that's not really my cultural heritage, let's say. So when I went to see the movie, I really went with the idea of, okay, is it a good movie? And no implications of, okay, the historic background of the show. Now that we got that out of the way, when it comes to the storyline, so I'll say a few things very broadly. The goal is that if you're watching this video, you shouldn't have spoilers. Again, I'm fully aware that many people already know the storyline because it's not an original story. But yeah, if you're like me, non-US or let's say native English speaker, and you really want to know from scratch, so basically, if you heard about the Wizard of Oz, that's kind of linked. It's just that you go back in time. So basically, the Wizard of Oz starts with a young girl named Dorothy who arrives in Oz and has to kind of help to defeat the Wicked Witch of the West. That's kind of, let's say that in a one sentence, that kind of is the Wizard of Oz. And when it comes to Wicked, you really go back in time to kind of know who is the Wicked Witch of the West, you know, who she was before. Actually, she's named Elphaba. Also in the Wizard of Oz, you have a character called Glinda the Good, and you also see her in Wicked, like, okay, who was Glinda before, and how did she know the Wicked Witch of the West? And you also have like different characters that are in the Wizard of Oz, like the Tin Man, or yeah, obviously Dorothy and so on. And all you have, Wicked is basically, if I would say in a sentence, the original story of the Wizard of Oz. So if you want to know everything that happens before, then you would have to watch Wicked. What's interesting is that Wicked kind of starts with the end already. So for me, when you see the story, and actually apparently when I did some research, the show is the same way, you know that knowing the ending is not the goal. So you, from the start, I mean, yeah, it's an old story, so you already know that the Wicked Witch of the West is dead. It's literally the first shot, so it's not even a spoiler. But it's actually a very, very interesting choice, I find, because it kind of puts the emphasis on the fact that the goal of the movie is not to know what's going to happen. It's more to know how did we get here, you know? That's really how the story is framed. So that's all I will say about the storyline. Obviously, you would have to watch it to know more, but I just don't want to say too much because obviously I would still want you to let's say, feel like you saw it for the first time based on the information I gave you. So when it comes to the review, I will segment it in different parts. First one will be visual effects, obviously, because it's such a huge movie with a huge budget, but like, is it actually well done? I will also review the acting, obviously, especially given the cast that we have. Third part will be music, because they can be great at acting, but what about the music? Because in the end, it is a musical. The fourth section will be comparison to previous musicals. I won't just compare it to the old movies linked to The Wizard of Oz, but actually broadly the musical, let's say, range. And then obviously I will give an overall rating for the movie. So first part is visual effects. So to give a bit of context, the director, John Chu, who actually directed also Crazy Rich Asians, which to me, I knew that fact actually. I know that many people know already the story of Wicked, but me, I started with wanting to watch the movie because of the director, because I really loved Crazy Rich Asians, because obviously having an all cast Asian at the time and still today was great, and actually it was so entertaining that I was like, okay, if he's gonna direct that movie, obviously it's gonna be interesting. Let's say interesting. Not necessarily good, because I've learned that it's not because the director is good that the movie is gonna be good by default, because it's a whole team, the production and etc. Like, did the match behind the camera happen as well? But it did catch my interest. Now, it's important to know that this movie didn't require as many visual effects as you would think. So, for instance, there are some shots in a university. The set is actually real. They actually built it for the movie. Sometimes you see certain fields. These actually were planted. So a lot of, let's say, investment has been put on sets, which is actually important to say, because many movies, sometimes people say, oh, but it's not necessarily as good, and that is often either because, yeah, they wanted to go with a set, but they didn't go the extra mile, and so it turned out to be looking very badly, or because, some directors are like, yeah, we can do everything post-production, but then have no one for post-production on set, and then you have to make the magic happen in post-production with basically nothing, and it's often not possible. And here, let's say he did actually a lot of real work, in the sense that a lot of the things that you see are real. So for me, overall, for this movie, I would definitely give it a 5 out of 5. Because honestly, it felt so nice to see that they had a huge budget and they used it very efficiently. To me, it felt that they did a lot of research beforehand. It wasn't one of those directors that said, as I said before, let's do everything in post-production. They actually thought shot by shot how we will do that. You can really feel it when you watch the movie, that everything has been thought of, everything has been rehearsed, everything has been tested. So they already knew how it would turn out. So for me, it was really a great movie in that sense. So honestly, I have nothing to say when it comes to visual effects. They are really perfect. Obviously, there is actually one scene that I found that it was kind of, the visual effects were not perfect, but then if I was honest, that shot was very complicated to shoot to begin with. So for me, it's fine. Now, the second part that everyone actually has been talking about is obviously acting. So the two main characters, who play the Wicked Witch of the West, also known as Elphaba, and also Galinda or Glinda the Good, are actually Cynthia Erivo and also Ariana Grande. So actually, before going to the movie, I didn't know what to expect, to be honest. So Cynthia, I heard about her already in the past. I knew that she was gonna be good, but it was more obviously Ariana Grande. So I know that she had done comedy before, but it had been a long time since she's been doing something that big, or actually playing for a full movie or a full episode of something, let's say. And also, obviously, personally, I listened to her, at least certain albums, and I was kind of interested to see how she will kind of, I want to say, adapt her voice to the movie. To be honest, also my stress was linked to the bad PR around the movie. We all know the whole story around Ariana Grande and the man who plays Bach, and the whole thing. I was like, oh my god, how is it gonna play on screen, you know? But actually, acting has been honestly great. I think that a lot of people are talking about Cynthia and Ariana, but to be honest, I don't feel that we are talking enough about Jonathan, Jeff, and Michelle, because obviously when you have two big stars who are the main characters, the attention is gonna go towards them. But when, especially for instance, Jonathan Bailey, for me, when you really see, there is one song that he obviously sings, and he, like, from the beginning to the end, and the effort and the timing of everything he does is so perfect that honestly for me I was like, yeah, but why is no one talking about this performance, because clearly he was doing amazing. Also, Michelle, it was the first time I think that she sang. In an interview, I saw that she was saying that she was a bit stressed about it, but honestly, it turned out so great. She was really good at in her role, and to be honest, you would really believe her in that role. So she really played it well. And obviously, Jeff is like, you know, this man is so charming that he can get away with so many things. But honestly, for this movie, to be without any bias, he was really good at it. He sang quite well, and obviously he plays the Wizard of Oz, who is supposed to be a character that's charismatic. And when you see Jeff, you just see the match is so perfect. So honestly, the casting across the board is perfect. So when it comes to casting, I would definitely say a 5 out of 5. Actually, I would say a 4.5. Why would I say 4.5? Is actually for the character that plays the sister, Nessa Rose, simply because I don't know, that's literally the only character that I was watching, and I had a little something that was blocking me. When she was singing, it didn't feel the same way as the others, and the acting was just different. I wouldn't say it was bad, because it's absolutely not that, but there was something missing compared to the other characters. But other than that, honestly, everyone has been perfect, and especially when it comes to the character of Nessa Rose, for me. So yeah, that is also not a spoiler. The movie is in two parts, and so for me, I'm like, okay, I saw the first part, but I think based on what I've seen, she will really shine in the second part. So I would really be open to just see how she plays it in the second part. Maybe it will be much better than the first part. The third section is music. So when it comes to the music, it's really well done. So actually, when I was looking a bit online, they were saying that they were singing live. To be honest, the moment I saw the movie, I was like, I think that is heavy PR to say that. I'm not saying that they didn't sing live, but you can clearly hear that the music is, there's a mix of live and highly edited and obviously studio version. So to me, obviously it's great. I cannot sing like they do, so it's very easy for me to say. So when you watch the movie and actually watch it without having any bias, you can from the get-go see that in fact, okay, maybe they might be singing live, but it's clearly heavily mixed with a studio version. It doesn't take away anything from the fact that the music is great, but I think that I just think that when I saw the PR putting such a heavy emphasis on the fact that they were singing live, I think that was not entirely fair. Especially that, I mean, looking at it, it really felt that, okay, this is how we're gonna differentiate ourselves from the other musicals. And Actually, there is nothing wrong with having a studio version. In fact, personally, when I saw the movie, I was actually happy that they mixed it with a studio version. Simply because still today, I'm listening now because all the musics from the movie is actually available on Spotify or maybe on Apple Music. I'm not sure. I use Spotify. And you can still listen to it, but that's because there's a studio version. If there was no studio version, it would be, I would say, not as pleasant for you to listen to it after the movie without having to rewatch the movie. So that's perfectly fine. When it comes to the movie, it's clearly it gets you. I mean, obviously, it's from a Broadway show, so if the music was bad, it would be, yeah, I think the Broadway show in itself would be bad. But here, the music was very nice. As I said, I still listen to it today. And to be honest, I cannot say that about many musicals. So that's a major plus. So I think when it comes to music, I would definitely say 5 out of 5. And not just because of Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo, because actually, again, the entire cast across the board has delivered their part. But now, the last part is the comparison with other musicals. So again, I like movies. So when this came out, I was kind of hearing what people were saying, and people were saying, "Oh, it's the new Chicago," you know? There hasn't been such a good musical since Chicago. And when I watched the movie, I was like, how can you compare it to Chicago? Because it's very different. Obviously, they both come from a show, but that's the only thing that they have in common. So to me, they don't really compare. But in the sense that is it really the greatest show since Chicago? I think it's more because people thought, oh my god, okay, that again, that's music. Because for instance, Chicago, it came out, I don't know, maybe 20 years ago. And even me, I'm still listening. Just yesterday, I listened to the Cell Block Tango song from Chicago. So definitely, I think that if I were to do a link with Chicago, I mean, let's say the effect that it has on people is definitely that the song that you hear in the movie, you would want to listen to them again. Now, I do think that in the musical range, it has been one of the best that we had in the last few years. For me, I'm not a huge fan of musicals to it's not really my genre. And here I went to watch it twice, and I will potentially go see it for a third time. So that says a lot. So I think comparison with other movies, it's definitely a 5 out of 5 for me. I'm not a musical person, and I love the movie, so definitely would say yes. However, I will say one thing. If you're not into musicals, but not at all. When I say that, it's like, oh, if they start singing every 2 seconds, that piss you off. You might not like it as much as I did, because that was kind of like what surprised me. Again, as I said, I'm not a musical person. So when they would sing sometimes just one sentence, I was very I was caught off guard the first time I watched it, because it was kind of like, okay, but why are they singing that much? But obviously it's a musical, but within the musical range, sometimes people sing more. I would say it's really not the same level, but let's take High School Musical, okay? So you have a high difference between the first two and the third one, in the sense that how heavy the amount of music is in terms of proportion within the movie. So in the first two, it's kind of healthy. So you have songs, but you actually have dialogues. Whereas in the third one, it's way too much music. In fact, that's actually the movie that I watched I think I never finished it, because they were singing so much that I was like, okay, I'm out. And here, I was like, okay, if someone doesn't like the music or actually want dialogues, to be real with you, they do have some, yeah, sometimes even some dialogues are kind of sang. But to be honest, for me, it wasn't disturbing. It's not as heavy in the sense that, again, like for instance, High School Musical 3, where you can actually, it's just hitting your nerves. Here, it's really not the case. So I would say if you're not into musical, potentially you would give it a 4, but you would still like it. So now, when it comes to the overall rating, so obviously, as you might have seen, I'm quite positive about this movie. So I would definitely give it a 4.5 out of 5. Why? Is simply because I'm not a huge fan of having movies in two parts. I understand. I went when I checked like why is it in two parts. The director was saying that he did it in two parts because he didn't want to alter the storyline and he wanted to make sure that he could it wouldn't hurt the movie, because it would definitely hurt the movie if it was in one part. But still, for me, it was kind of like, so now I have to wait until next year to see it. So it kind of feel, whenever people do that, I know that sometimes they say it's for quality, as it's the case here, but sometimes it feels so like money making. It get slightly on my nerves. So I was a bit annoyed that it's in two parts, but it's still okay. Like 4.5 is a really good rating. That's really let's say the only ick that I have, because otherwise this movie has been great. So let's see what parts two yeah what parts two turns out to be. So it's supposed to turn out actually next year. I don't know when exactly in 2025, but hopefully it's not like in a year. So yeah, so I'm quite happy about the movie. I'm quite happy that I went to see it. Honestly, that's definitely a good movie, especially to watch it during those times of the holidays and everything like that. I think that the timing was perfect to launch this movie. I actually recommend to go watch it in theaters, because having, as we said, the visual, the music, these are elements that you have to take into consideration to make the decision whether you should wait or not. Having the music and the visual effects and all the efforts that they've put all together, it really pushes you into the world of Wicked. So I do think that it's very important to go see it in theaters. But if you cannot go, I wouldn't go with the, oh my god, I cannot see it in theaters, so I won't watch it at all. Honestly, you can still watch it from home. That's definitely, I would just not advise on a computer simply because it's so grand that it would be really a shame. I think that you would not appreciate it as much on a small screen. So if you have a big screen at home, or a projector or something like that, I would recommend to watch it on that rather than on just your laptop, let's say. All right, so I hope that you liked this video. Again, that was my first YouTube video, so if you can leave a comment if you liked it or leave a like, that would be very kind. And obviously, if you have any feedback for me, constructive feedback, I would love to hear it. Honestly, as long as it's constructive, leave it in the comment for me. I will definitely take it into consideration for my next videos. And yeah, I will see you in my next video. Bye!